Boopity boopity boopity. Hello everybody. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. Woo! We're gonna talk nerd shit. Woo!
I don't want to talk about my poop.
I mean, you could. So, allow me to describe it. Oh my god. I'm not going that direction. I was going to for a second, and then I decided it would have been a really awful idea. You know, the usual.
No. Bad chances.
Too bad. Mwahahaha.
No chances treats for you.
So, this show's taking place on November 14th, 2020. Welcome. We're 166 episodes in. We're old men. I mean, with that many episodes, definitely.
Speak for yourself. I'm still young and spry.
You're still young and spry. Or young at heart, at
I
least.
just broke my ankle.
You're not allowed to boot people, Lightning. You're not allowed to boot people. You can't stop it. Can't stop, won't stop.
I say we both poop him.
Uh-huh. Alright, I just did dance. At least I was dancing. He said to dance in chat. Oh my god. Anyway, so today's docket, for those of you who aren't in Twitch chat and can't see it there, watching us a little later on, etc., etc., etc. Well, first off, we're going to talk about the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Beginner's Box. Hey, it's out!
In Pog form.
After forever. And then we've learned that World of Darkness gets to be the role-playing system that's basically everybody's prostitute. It's being or it's the RPG publishers. I don't want. Is the word slut still fine to use, or is there like another one that would be appropriate in this case? The RPG system of loose morals. It's being passed around to yet another publisher. This is like the third one that's working on it, or fourth one technically. You know.
Everybody gets one. It's the Spider-Man of RPG.
Didn't I allow that and it disallowed it and freaking whatever. I'll fix it later. Stupid Nightbot sometimes. We'll talk about that. Then we're going to talk about a couple of board games because that's what we got interesting. There's a Labyrinth board game coming out that's not based around normal Labyrinth stuff. Yeah, I tried to correct Automod, but it did it weird. It's based around those silly worms that were right at the beginning of Labyrinth, and that's where you really see them, and it's a game based around them, which you saw for all of, one scene? Okay. Mm-hmm. Then Spyfest by Cryptozoic, another board game coming out, that's all spy-based, and then we'll finish up with Autumn Harvest, a game about, dragons having a tea party. Kind of. We'll have to get to that one to describe it. It's a weird setup, but that's another one by Renegade Game Studios before we get to our normal segments. Let's start with the Pathfinder Beginner's Box, because, well, it's out. That's good.
Yes.
It's been forever.
And it's only $40.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that,
I don't understand, if you're going to do these, why you don't do it with the initial release.
That's what I was kind of going to say. We've been out long enough for not only a second printing of the Pathfinder core book, but the main errata of the Pathfinder core book second printing to come out now. So already, we have, it's been a long time. That's the problem, is when I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, it's been quite a long time now.
Yeah. To me, if you're going to do a beginner's box, which I think is a great idea, you should do it with the initial opening of your new system. That way you can, help people
get into it. Even if you're going to be delayed, this has been over a year. Because if I look into the exact time timing when Pathfinder 2nd Edition came out. I think it was last year, probably around... August?
August 1st.
August 1st. So now we're in the middle of November. You're already a year and nearly, actually over 3 months. A year and 3 months for the beginner box to come out. That's way too long. Like, I can see, like, you having your initial release being core rulebook, like a Game Master's Guide, bestiary. Okay, great. But they're already talking about, like, some of the extra books, things that will, like, introduce the other classes, like their Advanced Player's Guide version of that. They've already put out a bunch of other books that are side books, which are not bad. They're already talking about second bestiary and how many bestiaries they're going to do. You know? They're talking about a lot of these things already, and now we have the Beginner's Box out. Beginner's Box shouldn't have had a playtest. That's for one thing. It should have been out, like, I don't know, at latest 6 months ago, I feel. Like, even if you don't put it out, again, with those 3 original books, give it 3 to 6 months and then throw it out there, you know? I understand, like, maybe your initial release will be going to whoever is the, you know, generational players. You're releasing, you're not looking for getting in new players necessarily when you first release it. You're letting it, like, mill over a little bit of time.
But even with that, the thing is, to me, it still makes sense to do it sooner.
Oh, I agree.
Even closer to the release, why there's still hype around it.
Hype around the release, yes.
You know, 3 months, I would say max. Give it, you know, that way, you know, there's still probably talk about it and stuff, but 6 months, a year, it's already dying down at that point.
Yes.
And the thing is, even getting legacy players, when they did as much change to the system as they did,
a beginner's box would have been good.
A beginner's box, even to bring those legacy players in, would have been smart.
Yeah, because a beginner's box traditionally has a beginner, like, adventure. And they tend to be simple adventures. And some of them are good, some of them are bad. You know, being a simple adventure usually is like as much as I've never finished the Lost Mines, to give it a good example is the D&D 5e adventure, Lost Mines of Fandagar. It's a standard D&D adventure. There's not really a lot of, like, room for, like, excess role-playing in it. You know,
not just that, but also with how much things have changed, and even character building, you have pre-built characters to start with.
Yeah.
To kind of play around and see how the new rules work and everything.
Yep.
Where I personally don't like 2.0 that much. I was, you know, we just kind of went into the deep end and tried it. Maybe if I would have been eased into it a little bit more and the rules were a little bit, you know, and got used to the rules easier, I might have liked it more.
Yeah, like, I feel Pathfinder 2e, again, like, I think this is something that I've come upon more recently, because I've had a chance to continue playing it, and being as a player rather than as a DM. Like, again, like, I'm actually glad I'm a player in it rather than running it, because I never wanted to sit down and read through the rules exactly. And now that I have a chance to kind of read through the rules as they come up in-game, I feel like it's been a lot better for me. For someone running a pre-made adventure rather than me coming up with my one on my own. And I've found that there are issues with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. There have been major issues that I've found. Like defining how some of the systems work requires you to do research. It actually did. You know, figuring out, like, what's this? How does this work? Does this work together? Do I have to worry about these problems? The good example for one of these things was, well, there's 2 good examples I can give. One, the surprise system. It sucks for figuring out surprise rules. It's stupid. It's overly complex. It was like an attempt to simplify it. It's overly complex. That's an entirely different thing. The other thing is, I've discovered that if you're looking into the idea that if you are down by 10, you reduce the difficulty or the success of something. So why do you ever do a second or third attack when you have -5, -10, if it reduces it from a failure to a crit failure? Well, attacks don't have a crit failure. They don't have a botch, unless, you introduce it, or you use the optional rule of having 1s be botches, or there's an optional rule of having -10s be botches, and then you never would do a second or third attack. Quite literally at that point in time, because they would suck balls.
Right.
But again, these are more optional rules. They're not built into the system, and it's fine to use them. There's optional, it's flanking in 5th edition. I never use flanking in 5th edition. Because I feel like the difference between Pathfinder flanking and 5th edition flanking is a huge thing. Pathfinder flanking, you get +2 to your hits. 5th edition flanking, you get advantage. That's huge.
Yeah.
And, yes, keeping track of that and doing it for the monsters means they would also have that big advantage, but no, I mean, having the beginner's box there that you can test it out, see what you like. Lightning says we could home roll the +2 for 5e.
Yeah.
I think that'd probably be much better since it's an optional roll anyway. I'd rather just have that in 5e. If I would do that, I would use the flanking. If I would remember to homebrew it. Because I felt like that was just a better bonus. You get a little bit of a bonus, you can do things you get an advantage for it, but you're not getting a huge advantage.
And the thing with the beginner box and having pre-made characters, it easily allows you to go, okay, I'm going to try this pre-made, mage, or I'm going to try this pre-made, rogue, and see how different they play in this system. Instead of sitting there building something and going, oh, I don't like how the mechanics work on this now. Which
I think our first time playing through that, when we were trying the playtest, we had some problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the things were granted, that was the playtest, and they have altered it since then into the normal thing. Because we did start our 2D adventures with playtest when I was running stuff. But, I don't know. I feel like having that early on, something to help us jump into it. And it's even now, I'm discovering problems. That's that weird thing is I'm discovering problems as we're doing it now in the game. And these are things that I don't know if they would have come up if we had the beginner's box or not. That's the problem is I don't know if they would have come up, but maybe it would have given people idea about these problems.
Right.
I do have to say, my favorite thing about Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I love the character creation. But now that I've actually handled it and kind of gotten it down and looked at how it works, I kind of like it. I do have to say that. The other thing that I think is interesting is that it has a different scaling than even original Pathfinder. This is something I've discussed with Lightning and Umber and some other people offline, is there's a scaling to RPGs. That's why you can't really compare 5th edition to Pathfinder very easily. Pathfinder, a standard DC might be 15 or 20, while a standard DC in 5th edition might be 10 to 15. Not so much a big difference, but a hard challenge in 5th edition is around 20, which anybody could roll. Theoretically, it's a 20. You have a D20. A hard challenge in Pathfinder is around 25, 30. You actually have to have skill in something to roll that. So you can see there's a difference in the nature of the games right off the bat. Pathfinder is you're more people that are skilled instead of being kind of heroic and can do anything. And I think that's a big difference that, you can't compare the two of them as easily. And in this one, the scaling's even higher because you freaking add your class to everything. Your class, or a monster's challenge, is added to its rolls. And, you then get your class plus a bonus. It's if it's something that's untrained, it might be your class -2 or something that you have to roll on a skill.
Right.
You're still adding your class. Your unarmored defense gets your freaking class if you're trained at it. Like, frickin' sorcerers and stuff are like, well, you know, you're not trained in armor, so you still get your class to AC. You're trained at not wearing armor. It's something that exists. So
I'm trained at being naked in the middle of battle.
It really is kind of like that. It's that part of the system, I think, is just one of, like, it's a different scaling. And scaling is scaling, you know? I think the big thing is, like, yes, character creation I like it a lot. There's a lot of problems to the actual system because they try to both simplify and make things more complex. It's weird. I don't know.
It's simply complex.
That's kind of what it feels like. They wanted to simplify certain things, and their take on simplifying it instead made it more complex. And that's a problem. Like, they made certain... like, it's like their idea of having everything kind of a condition-based thing that kind of ticks down. It's interesting. It works pretty well in most counts. There's a couple of times where I've seen it that it's like, this is more complex than it needs to be. So.
Right.
So Pathfinder 2nd Edition, its beginner box is out. I'm a little late. A lot late. Certainly. But at least it's out. I mean, that's the thing I can say about it. At least it's out. I should have had the image of it, like, up here, but I've been busy talking about it rather than, you know, throwing the old image up.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I don't know much else to say about it at this point in time, other than, I mean, if you haven't tried Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I would if you've played Pathfinder, I would recommend trying it at least. Because the thing is, it's not a bad system. Even for the problems I've had with it, which annoy me, the system itself, it's fine, like, in a lot of ways. The issues probably can be worked with. You know, that's like a lot of RPGs have issues that you can work with. Shadowrun has incredibly large issues that can be worked with. You know, that's the best example of an RPG that is ungodly complex, has a lot of issues, but can be worked with. So, I mean, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, character creation is awesome. And the beginner's box, maybe that's a way for you to test things out, see what you think about it, see what you like about it. So yeah. They have a little Game Master's Guide, got a Hero's Handbook, some accessories, you know, some things that are thrown in there. Character sheets. All the stuff you need to, like, start it out. You can get it today. It's made to go through level 3 of creating a bunch of character. They have 4 pre-generated character sheets, 6 blank ones, tokens. They actually have a bunch of pawns in there, which is really awesome too. The little, like, pawns that Pathfinder always does are really neat.
Yeah.
Just got a lot of stuff. It's got everything you need to, like, start out on a Pathfinder adventure. So definitely, if you want it, I would recommend trying it out. It's the only thing. You know, this might be the way to go. $40 for a little thing to try it out with some of your friends and stuff. Certainly, I don't know if there's a PDF form of it. They usually have a PDF form of it. They might not in this one. Because they don't always have them in the physical boxes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I definitely, as I said, recommend, if you want to get started in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, this might be the way to go. Because try it out. See what you like about it. See what you don't like about it. There's definitely a lot of leeway either way there. So, we should move on. We've talked about the beginner box now. Let's talk about something else that's interesting. World of Darkness. So, now this is more than just 5th edition Vampire. So 5th edition Vampire, what we had what? We had self-publishing, which had some issues. I think there may or may not have been another company in there. Then Modifius was doing some stuff with them and putting out books and stuff. And now Renegade Game Studios is putting out stuff.
Everybody gets one.
Now they're saying they're putting out... they're expanding a partnership with World of Darkness as the official tabletop RPG publishing partner. What happened to Modifius? Weren't they, like, the official partner for a while there? What is going on with White Wolf slash, isn't it Paradox that owns them?
I think so.
It might be because Vampire the 5th edition, it has its problems. Like, I'm not saying you couldn't run a very good Vampire 5th edition game, but, like, I've looked into some of the problems with it, and I don't like them. So you'd almost have to home rule a lot of the bullshit away from the game to play it properly, I feel like, which is not great. Because, again, like, 5th edition, it changes it from the external struggle of being a monster trying to act like a human and dealing with the politics of other monsters into more of an internal struggle of you versus your beast, which is something you could have added into the original editions of it, but you didn't have to focus on this. This changes the focus to that constantly, that you're always worried about the beast, which is, it's different because you can have as much or a little as the politics of you can. You give as much as little of the beast you can. Now you have to focus on the one. This is a complaint I've had about Vampire 5th Edition for a while now. But they're also saying they're working on Werewolf the Apocalypse. I don't know what edition that is, because I don't think they've had 5th edition of that. So that might be like 4th edition. And they're also working on future World of Darkness tabletop RPGs. Does that mean they're working on stuff like Mage or other stuff now? Well, where's Renegade? Because there is a Werewolf the Apocalypse video game coming out, I know. But Renegade isn't working on the tabletop side, they're saying. So I've seen stuff on the, like, they're doing, like, they've done a few Vampire the Masquerade video games lately. They've done a few of those visual novel style. They have Bloodlines 2 coming out. I think the Werewolf one's going to be next year, and it's going to be more of the visual novel style, I think.
Yeah, Vampire was supposed to come out this year, but they got pushed back for development.
So they are bringing new playable clans to 5th edition with the Vampire Masquerade Companion, which is available in December. That'll be cool. I'd like to see what they're bringing into it, because they have changed some of the clan stuff around. The lore, 50% of the lore in 5th edition, I don't mind. 5th edition is in a lot of ways, is a good stepping off point from the lore that was established in the V20 series, which is supposed to be like after the apocalypse didn't happen. And they add some interesting lore to it. There's other things that, like, the Second Inquisition sucks so badly. It's so stupid. Yeah. The Second Inquisition, I definitely have to agree, is the worst thing I think they came up with in 5th edition, because it's the least reasonable thing. Because it's like a bunch of people found out about vampires at the top of bureaucracy in, like, the CIA or something like that, and now they're hunting them with the help of the Vatican, and they're able to do this very efficiently.
What about the Spanish Inquisition?
It's as stupid as that.
Nobody expects them.
Well, they actually had power because religious zealots and religion had power. The church doesn't have power. The freaking, like, the CIA, NSA, and stuff like that, yeah, they're secrety, but, like, doing something like this is not gonna freaking hide everything. And yeah, helped by all the major governments of the world. How would they get along with this thing? And wasn't their government influenced by the vampires and stuff before, so they could sweep some of this stuff under the rug and things like that and keep them hidden? Oh wait, they had that infrastructure established. Oh wait, it mysteriously disappeared? Fuck you, Second Inquisition. I just like the Second Inquisition. I don't mind there being a Second Inquisition. I just feel they take it to an extreme. You know, if there's a threat of, like, there is a group of humans that know about things that are hunting you, that's fine. Don't be it like, our political system breaks down, we're no longer connected to each other, each city is their own haven, and everybody's on their own almost. That's, again, ruining what... I'm going to get into this stuff here, and I shouldn't. I keep trying to go off on these tirades of things I dislike, and it just annoys the shit out of me.
Tirade.
But again, like, I think the entire thing here that I'm kind of concerned with is that 5th edition has been passed around so many places. You know, there's so many publishers on Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition.
Yeah, it's hard to keep straight what the hell's going on.
Yeah. It's really... I don't know. Yeah, like, it was... is Modifius still distributing it now and no longer doing publishing stuff? For a while there, like, that's the only thing I can think of, is, like, there might be a partnership there, because it's like, who's publishing it, is the question. Because, alright, I give you that Renegade's now the primary publisher. Cool. Who's connected with who in this entire thing? This entire thing has become a quagmire of who's publishing it, who's, distributing it, what the frick is going on. It just gets messier. And I think the problem is they've shot themselves in the foot a lot with problems with this. It wasn't... Like, when Onyx Path was controlling everything, it was well controlled. You had one company putting his stuff out with approval of, White Wolf and stuff, coming up with all these ideas, doing stuff right. It felt like Vampire for the 20th anniversary series and stuff. It felt good. It was updated rules. There's still some issues, but I feel like when I'm using V20, from some of the older issues that I remember, have been fixed. There's still more of them that are there. They're not completely gone. But there's still, like, There we go. But I don't know now with how this has been, because I don't know if Onyx Path is going to do any 5th edition stuff.
Yeah. Onyx
Path hasn't been talking a lot about any like White Wolf stuff at all. A lot. I don't know. It's just a sad thing about, like, weird crap that's going on in the entire thing. So. I like Vampire the Masquerade's world, mostly. Like, even the 5th edition world, as I said, they've done some really interesting things that feel like they're building on the existing stories that they kind of set up. Save for, like, things like the Second Inquisition.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, because it worries me that, like, they're shooting themselves highly in the foot. It's not like Vampire and the other World of Darkness stuff has some popularity. It's always had some popularity. So, I don't know. Maybe not enough to keep things going. Who knows? But Renegade Game Studios, they're putting out stuff for it. Keep an eye out. I want to talk about the Vampire Companion when it comes out in December. I think that'll be a good thing to do, to talk about what they're putting out there as a good litmus test of what they're planning.
Right.
I think that'll be a good idea to do. So we'll probably talk more about it then and see how Renegade is doing. And if we have to complain about this more and be like, well, this is the doom of Vampire. Because it might be.
Of course, we've thought that before when, they did go through and destroy the world.
Hey,
and that's
Vampire the Requiem was so great.
No.
I feel like the Chronicles of Darkness, some of them are better than others, and I feel the Vampire one was one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a great system.
Some of the other ones, I don't think are bad. Like, I think, I've always said the Changeling one, which is the opposite of Changeling the Dreamer, or Changeling, I can't remember what it's called, Worm would tell me. If he was here, Worm would be able to tell you. But, like, the opposite one, where one of them is your changelings that are in the mortal world and learning that you're changelings. The other one is that you were mortals taken to the changeling world as babies, and now you're growing up, you're trying to find out, like, what it means to have been originally mortal, but you're influenced and kind of got powers from the changeling world, from the fairy world. That's cool that they're opposites. I like that. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Those are two different dynamic stories that are very interesting. So I'm saying, like, some of the Chronicles, they're good. Other ones, no. But Chronicles, the Apocalypse, they did a lot of crazy shit. I think we should probably move on, though. I can avoid more of my tirades into interesting but weird territory. We're going to start talking about a board game. Hey, Ready, Steady, Worm! This is coming out 2020. And it's the worms from Labyrinth. why do we have a game about the worms from Labyrinth?
Because they haven't milked Labyrinth enough.
I mean, this is River Horse, so these are the people that have done Labyrinth board games. They did the Labyrinth RPG. It's the company that I think has the Labyrinth, not brand. What word am I looking for?
License?
License.
It's probably they're running out of things to do with the license, and they're like, what else can we license? Oh, the worms!
The problem might have been, and this is a problem that I remember talking about with some of the board game people, some of the publishers, is what it could have been is someone had an idea for a board game, but they didn't have, like, a good theme. Like, they had, like, a very, like, awful theme. They had, like, the design for a board game, but couldn't come up with, like, something to work with this. And so then, like, they're like, hey, do you want to publish this? And they're like, well, we think we want to come up with a better theme. And the people that are, like, who designed it were like, we're fine with that. Our theme is whatever, you know? We just came up with a design for a board game. And then they veneer it on top of, like, you know, something like this one about, well, we got the Labyrinth license. Can we do something with Labyrinth?
Or it also could be that, you know, a lot of times with those license agreements, you have to use it with it, you know, you have to do something with it so often or you lose it. So it could have been, oh crap, our license agreement's starting to run out. We have to come out with something else to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
The worms. We haven't done anything with the worms.
It could be somewhere in between all of that.
Yeah.
So you collect gems and use goblin tricks to tip the odds in your favor. And the Goblin King can twist everything instantly by spinning the walls and changing the entire board. So
I hate when my walls spin.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be worm raising. It's supposed to be one of the greatest pastimes in all of Labyrinth, enjoyed by goblins of all ages.
I don't see goblins sitting there raising worms.
I mean, it's like snail racing or like dachshund racing or any of those weird racings that they do. Frog races and stuff.
But I don't see them being patient enough to...
That's why they cheat. Goblin tricks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the game itself seems relatively simple as I look at it here. It's like a game where you roll dice, you try to collect stuff, try to, you know, race the labyrinth kind of thing. The first line is, ever wonder what the worms get up to in the labyrinth? It's like, yes, no, I didn't ever.
Of course. Who hasn't thought about the worms in the labyrinth?
Uh-huh.
Come on, you don't spend wakeless nights thinking, I wish I knew more about the worm.
Mm-hmm. It looks like there's cards that you draw that give you stuff, too. There's 2 custom dice, 50 goblin cards, which I'm guessing everybody plays the goblin cards to have, like, effects on it. 13 board pieces used to create a moving wheel board. That's kind of neat. 4 high-quality... They got little worm miniatures. That's kind of neat. 4 worm
Yeah, the
tokens. Cards
are probably the goblin tricks, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and I'm sure because there's 50 of them, you get, like, a small hand of them, and you draw them at certain points in time. The word book, and the there's a podium to see who wins. A slot together podium. I mean, again, it looks kind of neat. It's not terrible looking as a game.
The only thing is, I will say, because I zoomed in, they could have at least gave the worm like a little smile or something because they looked pissed off and scary.
Mm-hmm. Zoom in enhance. Oh my god.
Yeah, they look nightmare fuelish. It's like, could you have given them a slightly like?
Why do they have an Alexa thing for a Ready Steady Worm on Alexa? They have that on the back of the box. They say that.
Ages 6+.
It is very child's gamey, but it's like nightmare. Labyrinth was a children's movie that was nightmare fuel. We forget 80s and 70s children movies were nightmare fuel. They always were. They've never not been for whatever reason.
Yeah. I used to have, after I saw it when I was a kid, I used to have nightmares about the Boggins trying to tear me apart.
Yeah, think about like some of these things like Labyrinth, Dark Crystal with the Skeksis.
The Skeksis.
Freaking like even think about like some of the animation. Watership Down, where the freaking rabbits get the shit murdered out of them. You know, that's an animated movie. That's dark, and it's supposed to be like. There's so many of these like
Black Cauldron.
Yeah. They are dark movies, and you know, like they are like they are nightmare fuel for kids. But these are kids movies, you know. The definition of a kids movie has mellowed out so much nowadays. We are so like, you know, that's not kid friendly. Sorry, we remember kid friendly. It was nightmare fuel. A few nightmares is good for a kid, apparently. Well, this is 6+.
Yeah, I don't know what Alexa's used for.
I don't know. A free Alexa expansion.
Free Alexa expansion by saying, Alexa, ready, steady, work.
Ugh. I don't want to know. 20 minutes, 2 to 4 players. Of course, it's 2 to 4 players because there's 4.
Maybe it adds a randomness to it.
Who knows?
Like Alexa plays.
Who knows? I don't know. I don't use Alexa or the Hey Google or anything like that, so meh. It does something.
I use Google. I don't use Alexa, so like this would not be a selling point to me. It's like if you made it multiple platforms that it was capable of, but tying yourself just to Alexa.
Yeah, so this is it's an interesting board game. I don't know if it needed to be Labyrinth. I feel like they definitely colored it to Labyrinth, whether or not it originally was designed that way or not. And, I mean, it's a Nightmare Fuel Kids game, whatever. I worry that, like, this is definitely a weird direction that we haven't really, like, we see this in other companies. USAopoly. But River Horse, for a lot of their Labyrinth stuff that we've talked about, have been fine and interesting, you know? They've had, like, a Labyrinth board game, I think, before that we talked about, their RPG. You know,
card game.
And they were all, like, interesting and didn't feel like they were very cash-grabby. This feels more cash-grabby on the Labyrinth fan-base crowd. I don't know. It is more, again, 6+. It's more of a children's game anyway, so.
Oh, it's coming out in 2021.
Yeah, it's not coming. It's not. This is like they've announced it and they've thrown it out there, so it's not out that yet.
Yeah.
So. I mean, like, Labyrinth is one of those movies I do enjoy. So, you know, definitely, I don't know about it. Like, there's definitely plenty of movies that when people cash grab on it, you know, it's kind of hard for me to say, like, if it is or not. We should move on, though. We should talk about a couple of more board games, because there are a few more to discuss. Before we finish up for today, let's talk about Spyfest.
All I have to say is...
were they trying to make... I think they've talked about a Labyrinth sequel for a long time, and they've never...
Yeah. I think if they ever do it, it's probably going to end up being a Netflix thing.
There was a...
There's the Dark Crystal.
There was a manga done by Tokyo Pop from 2006-2010 called Return to Labyrinth. In 2016, a sequel was in development. And then it was actually described as more of a spin-off in the same universe.
But the thing is, David Bowie's dead. So who are you going to have play the Goblin King?
That's why they might just do a spin-off, because David Bowie's dead. So Scott Dickerson, who directed Doctor Strange, is the director of the sequel, and it was announced in May of this year. Maggie Levine will join him in writing the script for it. And Brian Henson will be executive producer, while confirmed Lisa Henson as producer. So, I mean, for that one, I don't know.
I mean, you don't have David Bowie's crotch to star in. Because you needed that in an 80s kids movie. Hey, look at David Bowie's crotch.
I mean, they really did have a lot of David Bowie's crotch in that one. I think Michael Motion's still alive, so he could still do like the juggling effects. Because for those of you who didn't know, Michael Motion, he's the one that did all the ball effects in Labyrinth. I'm not going to be...
That did not sound right.
It wasn't meant to. It wasn't meant to.
Yes, he did. He reached... Oh, God, no. I'm not going to say that either.
He reached around David Bowie and gave him some ball effects.
And played with the balls.
No, you went too far. I said just gave him some ball effects.
He didn't need any ball effects.
Are you sure?
They were already almost on full display, man. It's like, she's underage. Could you not like have your predominant crotch that close to her?
Mm-hmm. Good time. I mean, because good times, good times. Mm. So, Spyfest. It's released by Cryptozoic. That's not like a Funko Pop weird thing. I joke, but Cryptozoic's done some games like Epic Spell Wars, which I really liked, and a couple other games. So it's interesting. They had a Spyfall series, a detective game. So this is a detective game. It's a spin-off of their Spyfall series, which I remember. We might have talked about one a long time ago. So you take the game takes two teams of super spy convention to where one player is the spy disguised as a memorable historic or fictional character. The spy's goal is to describe their character using subtle references to a keyword only known to their teammates so that the team identifies the character before their rivals. It's like a party game. 4 to 10 players featuring 70 original comical illustrations. And that's the thing is, like, taking the idea of, like, oh god. They're like badly disguised spy versions of all the characters. I love that. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Medusa. I don't remember having a snake's tail.
I've seen that in certain things before, like as like the bottom half of snakes, and also
Ludwig von Beethoven with the Beethoven dog,
and being Cthulhu with just like a beard of tentacles that you're wearing.
And one of them's holding a newspaper, and the other one's a coffee mug.
Yeah.
And looks like he's wearing pajamas, too.
Yeah. Cthulhu's waking up.
Maybe Cthulhu.
So, yeah. It's a party game. I'm always fine with party games. It's got an interesting idea to it. Like, does this need to be their Spyfall series, like a spin-off of it? Maybe they're using again, they might be using their own popularity of their own series of games in order to sell it, kind of thing, as like a historical identify thing.
Also, Medusa has crutches.
Yes. They're supposed to be spies in disguise.
I know, but Medusa has crutches.
Because it's a man in a disguise wearing a snake tail. It's like wearing a bad like mermaid costume. You're either not moving around or you need some help. Like if it's like a good disguise and looks like the actual thing, you ain't moving your legs.
But the other problem is he's a dude.
Yes, with a mustache.
Medusa was not a dude. And sunglasses in all of them.
Well, they're spies. It's that dude on the cover of the box disguised as a bunch of them. They might have other ones in disguise, Yeah. So basically you're making fun of a classic character, to help identify it. And it is partially for fans of Spyfall, because it's got their they had a humorous spy kind of style. That I remember a bit about it. It was meant to be more, a jovial spy kind of game. And this kind of adding that to the idea of like guess the character isn't bad. Like just being like a silly guess the character kind of game.
And I kind of like it. Available in 6 days for $25.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's not a bad price for a kind of party game. Yeah. So yeah, they have rounds. Each team has a set of 7 action cards, which provides a significant one-time advantage, thus forcing the spy to answer a question or the team making 2 guesses about the spy's identity while it counts as 1 attempt. Each round ends in one of 3 ways. The spy's identity is guessed correctly by a team. Both teams fail to guess the spy's identity after 3 attempts, or the spy completes the description of themselves and has not added any new info for 1 minute. So, like, if you throw out all as much as you can for descripting it, you probably, like, as the spy who's got the disguise on, you can only add in so much description. Like, if the team spends a minute not being able to guess or figure it out, both teams, you're done then. So you kind of have a time limit. Like, if everybody gets their 3 guesses, or someone guesses it. So I guess they gotta have to have a timer. I'm guessing they do.
The play time is 30 plus minutes, ages 12 plus, 4 to 10 people. Contents is 28 non-fictional character cards, 28 fictional character cards, 2 blank character cards, 24 keyword cards, 14 action cards,
7 for each team.
7 2 spy standees, 2 base standee bases, 2 dry erase markers, 2 double-sided character sheets, 2 double-sided keyword sheets, and 1 rule book. So no time.
Huh. Because the sooner the characters spy. Oh. Rather than keeping track of time, it might be if I get it on the first guess, I get more points than if I get it on my 3rd guess.
Yeah.
I think that's what it probably is. Mm-hmm. And if you move along the red carpet, the team whichever makes the last card on the red carpet wins the game. So there's probably stuff going on the red carpets and stuff. I definitely would like to, like, really take a look at this once it's out. But it sounds like a fun little game for 4 to 10 players, for a little party game. It's silly, but silly's not bad.
Silly can be fun.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I mean, like, if you like a little silly little party game with like a kind of like spies in disguise as historical and fictional characters, check it out. Maybe. I guess if you like Spyfall series by Cryptozoic, it also might be a reason to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our last game for today. We have Autumn Harvest, a Tea Dragon Society card game. It's kind of adorable. Let me show a picture of it here for adorableness' sake. You know, it's meant to. This is like what you kind of need sometimes. A nice, relaxing board game where you're only slightly murdering each other. Through the game, not actually in the game. Yelling something about "I will destroy you" and claim victory or something.
I slightly murder you every day.
Nah, I'm immune to that.
Nope.
Boop. Autumn Harvest. There we go.
Murder your soul.
So, it's exploring the secrets of the Tea Dragons, a game of friendship and fantasy. A bunch of weird-looking, like, fantasy dragons sitting around. You collect tokens and cards to create memories with your Tea Dragon, a light deck-building game. 2 to 4 players. It's available now. Came out on the 11th. You get things like, letters, lake spirits, ceramic teapots. It's an adorable little game. That's the thing to say about it today. The best to say about it. I don't know if they have a rule book or anything about it. I'm taking a look and seeing if I can find one. So it is compatible with the original Tea Dragon Society card game. So I do remember there was one of the Tea Dragon Society card game existed. So it technically is compatible with it, but you could play it alone too. So it's like a Munchkin expansion, except adorable. I didn't know there was an Oni Press graphic novel about this, but apparently there is. So, by Katie O'Neill. With adorable dragons having tea, I guess. You test your caretaking skills with 2 to 4 friends, 10 plus, 30 to 50 minutes. Contents. 128 cards, 46 tokens, and a rule sheet. Do they have a copy of the rule sheet here? They do not. I forgot Renegade is really bad about giving you that kind of thing. Renegade Game Studios, you could at least share some of this crap with us and let us know what the rules are. But no. Womp. Womp. They did get the graphic novel artist Katie O'Neill to do all the art on the cards, so that's nice. T-Dragon Society. T-Dragons... Oh, there it is. The T-Dragon Society. It's a graphic novel of some kind. That's the best I can say about it. It's done by Oni Press. I guess if you're a fan of it, they're definitely positive. But I don't know what else to say about, like, something that's... We've talked about a lot of things that are based on other, like, things like movies, graphic novels, things like that. We've talked about a lot of stuff like that. So, Anyway, is there anything else to say about it?
No.
My brain has, like, lost the ability to, like, describe it anymore.
It's a cute game.
Yeah, it's a cute game based on a graphic novel that may or may not be interesting to you if you, it might drag you into it. I've now done a basic research about the graphic novel, which, I probably should have done earlier, but, whatever. Did it now. Gonna do things eventually. Yeah. Regular segments?
Yeah.
I guess that leads us to our next part of our docket, which today we're going to start with, of course, our Kickstarter Korner. Do you have one for us, Joe?
I have a mention of one. It was kind of slim pickings today.
I have a shout out for one that I was going to shout out next week, but it hadn't started, so I think I could shout out this week. Yes.
1961, a Cold War card game. Ugh. Looks interesting. Simple, draw one, play one mechanic. Players take turns drawing cards, performing buildings abilities, and playing cards from their hand. Cards can be played face up as a building or action, or stacked face down on top of buildings. Stack cards act as a barrier to incoming missiles. You can launch missiles to try to destroy your opponent's buildings, activate response systems, and you win the game by outperform your opponents in any of the three ways. Be the first player to make it to the moon, build enough embassies to declare world peace, be the last survivor in a nuclear holocaust.
Good for that last one, We have survived nuclear bombs. We are fine. Power of Russia shows you... Soviet Union power.
We just glow in the dark a little now. And we have tails.
Foolish Americans. Superior Russian tails defeat you.
They have 33 days to go. They're at 3,679 out of their 10,000 goal, and they have 52 backers.
So they're just a little ways into it. We don't know, they're not very far into their entire thing, but they're about a third of the way done.
Yeah, and print and play version is $10.
Mm-hmm.
If you pledge 19 or more, you get the Leaders Edition, which you get a full art print and play copy, a hard copy, and all stretch goals.
Cool.
And then there's some, additives things that you can do for higher amounts, but those are the base ones.
I'm going to just shout out, because I talked about it, and I do want to, I'm probably going to play it on the channel at some point here. Best and 4th edition. They have their extras, RPG expansion stuff, so it's a lot of bonuses. It's funded. It's a bunch of RPG accessories, stuff like more rules expansions, character options, a lot more NPCs, basically like some like miniatures thing, a dice tray, a lot of stuff like that. So it's a lot of little things, and some adventures scenarios. So bunch of stuff for the game. I love Bessem. I would definitely want to eventually play it on the channel here when I get a chance to like organize a few games. It's on my list of games, but you know, I still have to kind of add games in. Working on it. It's on the short list though. But you know, the accessories are out now. Let me throw the link into the chat. I just want to basically shout it out because I think I was talking about it coming out, and now it is out. So now there it is linked. And you can, if you followed the original Bessem 4th edition, you can get behind that one now too. So, there you go.
Huzzah.
Our week in tabletop?
Sure.
I think it was just...
I don't know what else you had.
But we had Children of Wrath as the big one we had.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have best Pathfinder 2nd edition because it was originally going to be on Monday, then it was moved to Tuesday, and then no one could do it on Tuesday except for me. So,
Or did you have Legacies?
I had Records of Evil and Legacies. And Records of Evil, the team has made a deal with like an evil kind of specter that he needs a bunch of things in order to come back to the real world. Because they're kind of like in an ethereal plane, except it's rather than the ethereal plane where ghosts are, it's a Cthulhu plane. So they went and fought a bunch of ghosts and then trapped their spirits, which they could have done that very easily by sending in the person that wouldn't be encountered or could be damaged by the ghosts and just had them activate it. But no, they went and fought them and then, you know, trapped them and stuff like that. They've looked into murdering someone and stealing their blood, and they've been talking about they have to get a body and then convince another guy to get to a location. They worked on it. Maybe next week they can finish up all their evil tasks and, you know, like totally sacrifice a number of people to this person in order to get the artifact they need, kind of thing. You know, the usual. I mean, it's an evil game. Sometimes they actually do evil things in that game. It's the thing of, like, normally they tend to be very neutral because they're lawful evil, which means they tend to freaking 95%... Well, the team overall is lawful evil. Individuals within the team have different alignments, but they all have that, like, kind of, like, lawful evil mentality of what they follow in the end. So. And then I did have Legacies of Kain, in which they were going to head to Mexico, but Mexico is controlled by the Sabbat, and they're like, that seems like a bad idea. So they traced one of the groups that they have to look for. There's a supernatural group that part of them have broken off into this cult led by the man they have to find. So they looked into that supernatural group and they're like, oh, some of them are in Venezuela. Maybe they can get in contact with their cousins in Mexico so we can find them, talk to the cult leader, which is really what we need to do. And so now they're in Venezuela having adventures. They have globetrotting. That game has become globetrotting the game, which has been fun. I like doing it because I can send them to weird places, and then we're looking up, like... Because I didn't know they were going to go to Venezuela originally. I gave them the option, and they took it. So then I have to, like, look up Venezuela in the middle of the session. I'm like, so what's there? What city are you coming into? Where are you checking out? What kind of environment it's in? You know, I always find that very interesting and fun to do. Then I did have Carrion Crown on Wednesday, in which they effectively managed to combine every encounter in a single building into one big giant encounter.
That's normally not good.
As Lightning said, it ended up kind of being a bad time because it was kind of sloggy, and there was a couple of things that were early on that I did a little wrong that actually, like, unfortunately, normally when you have a wrong decision, you can usually, like, counter it, but the wrong decisions I made early on threw the tone of the session. The session ended up okay, I think, but there was a bunch of slog in the middle with how the battle ended up, you know. It could have been much more interesting. There could have been things that could have been done differently, and it's kind of that things where you take a step back once you're done the session and being like, dang, I shouldn't have done it that way. Yeah. Which, you know, that helps us all improve as, you know, either as players or game masters, is like realizing your mistakes, because it is a game you're playing to have fun with everybody else. So, and the location kind of messed up the party too. It was getting location problems, like their positioning in the location too. Like they had a good plan. The thing is, like, going in the front door would have ended up being the better plan, as stupid as it was. And they went in through like a side entrance that unfortunately made things more difficult because of circumstances. I don't know if necessarily it would have still been more difficult, depending on how I kind of played a few things. So, like, right. I think, like, that I could have made it, like, the possibility to F them a little less. Anyway. Then I had Children of Wrath, which you have now ended up leaving the Lair of the Beast at the end of 2 sessions now. You get out, you run into some elementals, you go back.
Get screwed by some elementals that, are friendly NPCs set up and I was not aware of.
Yeah, set up some defenses, then you go back to the village, you discuss a lot of things, set up a bunch of stuff, figure out some plans, rest a night.
Kaz got to hang out with some bimbos.
Yeah, Cliff and Biff, man bimbos. With their massive muscles that they always have to keep well oiled. Their characters have became more ridiculous as I developed them. Like, they were just simple, like, these are some NPCs that you will notice in amongst the people Carrie is training. And then it became, these are a thing that exists now in this village and are more entertaining.
That Kaz is highly attracted to.
Kaz just has a good time hanging around them. Anyway, and then you ended up checking out the Lair of the Beast and sneaking in there a little bit more again.
This time not alone.
Maxwell ran away like a little scared dog, though. I mean, like, Maxwell...
Yeah, he didn't really do as much as I was hoping. I was hoping he was going to press a little bit with the mind reading. Mm-hmm. But... because that really didn't teach us much, other than there's multiple minds there.
But you're not even sure how they work, too. Because, again, like, it looked as though, like, some of the fangs in its mouth, not all of them, but some of them are actual creatures that are, like, almost, like, maybe, like, parasitic or something that live in that mouth. So it's kind of weird. And also there was supposed to be, like, a superior mind that he couldn't hear over the voices.
Yeah. And that's what he needed to kind of push on, and he did not. Unfortunately.
I'd best describe it as, like, maybe symbiotic magical beasts. There's the large worm that's, like, the top thing that has its own mind, but then it's like, maybe telepathic connected with the things that are burrowed into its mouth, which help it to kill and eat stuff, by acting as its fangs, but also then provide, like a mind to it. And then some people showed up that are apparently trying to enslave it.
Yeah, that I'm not very fond of.
Mm-hmm.
And they have technology, which worries me.
Well, like, Artifice could probably make something like the spider leg that are like a bottom half. So, I mean, that's not impossible if you looked at Kaz and what he can do.
Yeah, well, but I'm also saying, like, the device he had to detect shadows.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's not a typical thing.
No. Again, it's probably like it's the magic technology, which is like a weird mixture of like steampunk and magic at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It just worries me.
Oh yeah, no, it should be worrying.
And honestly, my initial intent was hoping that maybe I could have got Spider-Leg Dude to, like, walk away from the other guy and maybe ambush it.
Mm-hmm.
And find out some information, but that did not seem like it was going to happen.
Oh, he was going to wander away until the other one was like, stay here with me, just in case,
And I was just like, So, and we ended the session the same way we began this session, with me coming out of the hole again. Now to report information on some people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, and the thing is, like, I will agree with, like I said in chat here. Like, Maxwell being worried about the giant doom monster eating him because he doesn't actually know what will happen to him.
Yeah, I got it. It was just kind of like, would have been nice to get a little bit more information, but I understand it the same. But the thing is, too, it was in its bone pile.
You know, the bones hiding in the bone pile were a fine thing, but, like, after that, leaving that...
Yeah.
And you're not even sure how pressing it would have worked with how things were on that.
Oh, no, I know.
I had an idea how it might... What Maxwell might read, and might be able to read if he managed to press it. But then the question becomes, what would it react to if it's aware of something? Because I said, Maxwell got the sense that it is dumb, but has a level of intelligence greater than that of a beast, you know?
Yeah.
Which tells you... It's sort of like, you know, it's one of the things everybody always forgets. The Tarrasque is actually relatively intelligent for, like, a mindless killing machine. It just is really hungry and doesn't care. You know?
Yeah.
It's like in every system it has. It's like it's got a little bit of intelligence. It's just doesn't give a crap because it's hungry and you're edible.
Its main concern is eating.
Yeah. Good times.
It really, you know, sit there and negotiate with it. Well, you're not that hungry, are you? Yes. Yum.
And you are delicious. Yum.
Well, everything's delicious to it.
Yeah. But, yeah. So that was our week in Tabletop. It was a pretty good week. Not the best week, but a pretty good one. So, then we get to our last segment that we always have, which is basically just, like, if you have a question for us, shout it out. You know, we're on Twitter. I'm at Dracovin. Joe's at JWSeeker81. I've got my Discord, which you can always link to, which is linked down below, or we'll throw up into chat if you are there. Linked down below in the description for when this is up on YouTube, or in the description if you're on the Twitch channel. That's a great way to reach me there. There's an entire Discussing Tabletop section there, or you can at me directly. You'll usually see me, you know, online pretty much all the time, I think, because I'm technically all the time awake, you know.
All the time awake?
Well, my computer.
I never sleep.
Well, it's like I never changed my status on the computer, so even if I'm not around, it's technically I'm there.
I just like, I never sleep.
You know, I exist there on the computer, technically, all the time. There's also email, discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. If you're throwing us up on any of these things, you can direct message us on Twitter, add us on Twitter. You can direct message us through the, as I said, on Discord or in the Discussing Tabletop section, depending on what kind of question you have. If it's one that, you know, you just want to ask us or ask for the community. If it's a question that's really interesting and important, we can always answer it here. And if you're in Twitch chat, we'll throw them out usually right now and then, you know, if you've got a question for us at this point in time, about what we talked about today or something else nerdy and stuff like that. You know, we try our best to answer the questions and, you know, throw it out there. We like being a source of information if we need to be. So.
Agreed.
Anyway, yeah, that's just a good show for today. Thanks everyone who joined us today. Thank you for Lightning for hanging out and chat and commenting a lot. You're always helpful to be there and fun to join us. If you're looking for more stuff, I may stream either later on today or tomorrow for myself. Otherwise, Joe, you'll be joining Children of Wrath next week on 8 p.m. on Thursday. Yep. EST. Other games, if you're looking for them, Records of Evil's at 1 p.m. on EST on Monday. 2 p.m. for Legacies of Kain, and of course this show's at 2 p.m. every Saturday Eastern Standard Time, where we hang out and talk about some tabletop stuff. So, yeah. And other stuff, if it comes on the schedule, or if I do some gaming streams or something else, expect it to be announced. But otherwise, have yourselves a great rest of your day, great rest of your Saturday, great rest of your weekend if I don't do anything else, and hopefully we can all have a good time out there. So, until the next time we either of us see any of you out there, you know, plug the Discord server more. Definitely, yeah. Check out the Discord server. There's some talking there. You know, there's usually some activity of me chatting with some people about something stupid. Cat pics that show up around there. Some role playing stuff. There's a bunch of mostly role playing people there. So yeah, if you know, if you want to be some of the other people there, you know, plug it more. Discord, join us. It's fun. It's a good time. And you can always hear about weird conversations about RPGs, stuff like that. But anyway, yep. All right. Until next time, everybody. Goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.